Pupils Like craft tutorial series. In this series, the production department will show you how to create spooktacular decorations to brighten up your home and neighborhood. For our paper mache pumpkins, here are some of the supplies we're going to need. Plastic bags, masking tape, scissors and scrap paper, white glue and water, any kind of paint you're comfortable with will be fine, and some brushes. We're going to start by stuffing our plastic bag. I'm going to use a grocery size bag, but you could use any size bag you want, kitchen bag, leaf bag, and we're just going to stuff it with whatever scrap paper we have lying around. Old scripts, perhaps research. For you, it's probably going to be more newspapers, circulars, that sort of thing. You can be fairly generous. We're trying to get this to bulge out. And then once we feel like this is at a good level for our pumpkin size, we can tie it off. And then we'll start dividing it into segments with our tape. So I think 6 to 8 is a good amount of segments for this size. If you're going bigger, you might want to think about more segments. I'm just going to use my masking tape to divide. And then once I have a good first division, I'm going to go back and tighten. And that'll start to give us more of that bulging shape. And here you can sculpt it a little more if you feel like you have to build anything out. And then we're ready to add the stem. I'm just going to use a piece of paper, twist it. I'm going to wrap it in my tape. I'm going to try to give it that spirally stem going, and once that feels good, you can attach that to the top of your pumpkin. And now we're ready to start paper mache. Once we have our pumpkin shaped in a way that we're happy with, we're ready to start paper mache. I'm just gonna trim my stem so it has that cut from the pumpkin patch kind of look. And then you'll pre-cut strips of newsprint or some other thin paper. Thinner is gonna be better. You're gonna wanna build layers here. And then just white glue and water, about 1 to 1, or if that feels too watery, you can add a little more white glue. It's really up to you. You're gonna want it to be holding to your paper a little, but gravity is gonna be doing a lot of the work. So I'm going to do the top half of my pumpkin first and let that dry, and then flip it and do the bottom. You're gonna wanna build, like I said, here in layers, and that can be part of your initial process too. You don't have to wait for it to totally dry. I like a little bit of like a crosshatch kind of approach to applying it. That'll help your edges lay down a little better. And you're really trying to sculpt here as well. You're trying to smooth where you want it smooth, and maybe if there's a little bit of a gap here, you're wanting to let that sit up above it. And each layer will help you shape it a little bit more. So take your time, do that. You can do as many layers as you want. The more layers are really the better result you're gonna get. We're gonna do 2 because ours are gonna be outside and they're gonna be seen at a distance because of social distancing. And so they just really have to have a little bit of that feel. We're having fun with it. We don't have to get too crazy. So I'm gonna keep doing this and then flip it and do the bottom. And then when we're finished, we'll have something that looks kind of like this. And you can see that not all my edges have laid down, but because I have done these multiple layers, I can tear these off or trim them off. If you do enough layers, you can take like an actual palm sander to this and try to smooth it out really nice. We're just gonna do a loose smoothing. And then once we're happy with that, we'll be ready to paint. I've already done a base coat of an exterior gray on this just to give it a little bit of weather resistance. And now we're ready to move into our classic orange pumpkin paint job. If you don't have red and yellow in your house already, those are the only 2 colors you're gonna need to pick up, and then mix your own orange. And then we're also gonna use those red and yellow to create some sculpting, but we'll get there in a minute. So first we're just going to give this a base paint of our orange. And you don't have to worry about getting complete coverage at this step. Once this dries, it'll give us the ability to get complete coverage in the next step. So just get a good coating on that. And then once we're dry, we can move into, like I said, a little bit of color sculpting. So I'm gonna use the yellow as a highlight color and the red as a shadow color. So I'm gonna still use my orange, but now while that's still wet, I'm gonna blend in some yellow to highlight. I'm gonna just come back and give this so that it starts to push that area towards us as the viewer. And then in the crevices, I'm gonna add a little bit of a darker red. And then you can just keep blending those together, and then it'll start to sculpt that shape a little, and it'll accentuate the sculpting we did with the bag and the paper mache. And when that's done, it'll look something like this. And if you're happy with this, great, or you can always go back in at this stage and punch anything else you want. But once you're happy with it, I'll take it outside, especially if you're gonna be displaying it outside, and spray it with some clear spray paint. This has a little bit of a gloss to it, which will give us that shiny pumpkin skin. And then once that's done, you can paint your stem on, and that can stay flatter, that's fine. And then you can use these in all by themselves or in any kind of arrangement you like. So I've made a couple other size pumpkins, as you can see. These guys are gonna be stacked into a topiary, so they didn't need stems, so you just skip that step. And then I used dry flowers that we pulled from the fields around the area. These thistles are incredible, but very sharp. Be careful. But they're out there right now, so go get them. This guy is gonna be our base. And I just put in some to stick out underneath here. This is just a planter we had. You could use, a terracotta pot, or if you have just a little tub that you wanna wrap in some fabric, whatever you wanna do. Or they could just stand alone. They don't really need to be up. They could just sit on your porch. And then this guy is for a little bit of contrasting color, although I think it looks better this way. There we go. And then we can just tape these together. Just use a little masking tape or duct tape, depending on how solid you want it to be. And then I was just going through, you can sort of thread these in and create like a floral arrangement kind of situation. Whatever you like works, up to you, just a different level of sculpting. And then this guy can go on top. These guys are gonna be part of our Haas display, which will premiere around October 27th, if you wanna drive by and take a look. And we'll also be covering them in spider webs a little to go with our themes, so look for more info on that. You can follow what we're doing here in the shop on Instagram and Facebook. And then once you have something you like, this will be like a more complete, kind of all angles kind of sculpture. So you can walk around it. But be creative, have fun, and we'll see you next time.